Good morning, students. Welcome to AICT Prerana ZPAT classes. My name is Dr. Pawan Kumar Chintamaneni, HOD, Department of Pharmaceutics, Raghavendra Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research. In today's session, we are going to talk about targeted drug delivery. So, this targeted drug delivery overall topic, we can expect one question in your ZPAT paper. So for that, you need to learn some basics and some important carriers with regard to this targeted drug delivery. Okay. Now, let us go into the concept. When this conventional drug delivery is already available, so when you're already having the conventional drug delivery, what is the need for you to again go for the targeted drug delivery? So the reason is, whenever we are going for conventional drug delivery or modified systems like sustained or delayed or controlled release, the medicament that is getting absorbed from the dosage form will be in the systemic circulation. Once that is in the systemic circulation, it will be distributing throughout the body. Irrespective of the organ, it will be distributing throughout the body based upon the partition coefficients and all. However, this may lead to several side effects. Particularly when you talk about chemotherapy of cancer, you can see the person facing several side effects like losing his hair, losing his body weight, becoming anemic. All these are due to side effects of the chemotherapy. Then what can be done to reduce? So instead of allowing the drug to distribute throughout the body, if we modify that in such a way, such that it will go and act only on the tissue of interest, then we can reach our, achieve our goal, that is reduce the systemic side effects. And so what is this targeted drug delivery? How to understand the concept? So you can see the diagram where I have shown a free drug and a drug in a carrier. So the first one, free drug, is a direct administration of your drug either in the conventional form or in this sustained or conventional form. Whereas in the case of the other one, you are employing a carrier and also a suitable targeting system. So when you are employing the drug in the form of a free drug, the chance for that to reach non-target site is more. The chance for that to reach non-target site is more, as well as it will have limited or no access towards the target site. Whereas in the case when you are delivering drug in the form of a targeted system within a carrier, it will, or the chances for it to reach the target site will increase enormously, and it will not reach, or it will reach only to a limited extent towards the non-targeted site. Okay, that means free drug, the access of free drug to the target sites will be very limited. But the same when it is given in the form of a targeted drug delivery system, the chances for that to reach the target site will increase. Now, what are the various terms that are coming under this targeted drug delivery systems? So the first one is drug. So drug is the nothing but the pharmacological compound which shows its response when binds to suitable receptor or when it is consumed. That is what the drug is. Next one is target. This target represents the organ or the tissue or the cell where we require our pharmacological action. So in the diagram here, this cell represents the target. This cell represents the target. And the drug which is showing its action is the pharmacological compound or the drug. The next one is targeting moiety. So this is very important, targeting moiety. So if you see the diagram here, this yellow colored one is the one which is the drug delivery system or the carrier. And this carrier is having a particular compound called as vector or targeting moiety or ligand. Okay, this is available as coating on the surface of the carrier. Due to the presence of this targeting moiety or ligand, the drug will go and bind effectively to the receptor. So the function of this targeting moiety is nothing but to identify the receptor to which it should bind. And these targeting moieties include peptides, small molecules, aptamers, monoclonal antibodies, etc. So the function of this targeting moieties is to go and bind to the receptor of interest. Next one is receptor. So let me show you the diagram again. So in this diagram, you can see that this cell is overexpressed with this receptor. As this cell is having overexpressed receptors, the carrier which is coated with the targeting moiety will come and bind to this receptor fast. Okay. So these receptors are the protein molecules which are present on the surface of the target cell or tissue or organ. So due to the presence of these receptors, the drug moieties, that means the targeting moieties or ligands, will come and bind to these receptors, thereby enhancing the active targeting of drug. So as we are saying that these receptors are overexpressed only in certain group of cells, they will concentrate only on a few cells, leaving the other cells. This is the concept of receptors. So this diagram is the illustration which says about receptors that are overexpressed in various types of cancers. So for example, in brain cancer, the receptors that are overexpressed are folate receptor, transferrin receptor, and interleukin receptor. So when we are preparing our drug delivery system for targeting brain cancer, if we are preparing that in such a way that the surface of the drug delivery system is having ligands for folate receptor or ligands for transferrin receptor, they will go and bind to the brain tumor, brain cancer more efficiently when compared to the systems which are not having any targeting moiety. Okay. Likewise, different types of cancers with different overexpressed receptors are given in the slide. Just give a overlook.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, now the next one is uh, carrier system. So if you want to go from here to Anantapur bus stand, if you are going by walking, it takes long time. But if you are going by a vehicle, you can minimize your effort and go there easily. In the similar way, for the drug to reach the target site more effectively and to cross the barriers, it should have a carrier system. It should have a carrier system. This carrier system will carry the drug of interest from the site of administration to the site of action more effectively. Okay, so what are these carrier systems? These carrier systems are the drug vectors which sequester, transport and retain the drug and elute it at the vicinity of the target. That means they will take the drug with them, transport through the barriers without losing the drug and deliver the drug at the site of action. So this carrier surface can be suitably modified such that they will go and bind to the receptor of interest, causing targeted action. So if you see the diagram here, so the drug and the carrier are bound together to make a drug carrier system. So due to binding of drug within the carrier, it leads to maximization of the therapeutic effect because the drug will be taken to the target site more effectively. As the drug is reaching the target site more effectively, this will lead to minimized toxic effects and improved therapeutic effects. Next, as the drug is not available for the systemic circulation directly, the chances for causing immunogenicity is less. Next, by using these carriers, we can also deliver this drug delivery systems to organs like liver, spleen, and bone marrow, where generally the concentration of drugs will be less. And as I have said that the surface of these carriers can be suitably modified, we can also achieve targeted drug delivery to the sites like cancers, etc. Okay, this is with regard to the drug carrier system. Now, what are the ideal properties that a carrier system should contain? So the carriers that you are employing should be able to cross the anatomical barriers. And in the case of tumor, it should cross the tumor vasculature. So these carriers must be recognized by the target cells. by means of the surface ligands. That means the receptors on the surface of the target cells should identify the ligands which are present on the carrier such that they bind more efficiently. So whenever you are loading the drug, you should load in such a way that the overall drug carrier system shows enhanced stability in the biological system, that is in the plasma. And the carriers that you are employing should be made up of polymers of GRAS category. Students, can someone tell me what is meant by this GRAS category? GRAS category. GRAS category of excipients. Any answers? Respond fast. Okay. This GRAS category means generally regarded as safe. These polymers which comes under the class of GRAS category when administered to humans will not cause any adverse pharmacological actions. That means the carrier should be made up of materials of GRAS category, thereby they will not show any toxic effects or immunogenicity, and they will undergo biodegradation after releasing the drug at the target. So the materials which are used for preparation of these carriers used for drug delivery in targeted drug delivery are either endogenous or exogenous. Endogenous means so the material which is inherent to the body. For example, albumin. So earlier also I have talked about albumin nanoparticles and a particular brand name Ambraxane. This Ambraxane is already available in the market. It is a serum albumin nanoparticles of an anti-cancer drug. Similarly, by using low density lipoproteins or high density lipoproteins, chylomicrons, resealed erythrocytes, which are inherent to the body, we can prepare nanoparticles. So the next one is exogenous. So these exogenous include microparticulate systems made up of soluble polymeric materials or biodegradable polymeric or lipidic materials. Nowadays, we are even employing carbon nanostructures like carbon nanotubes, quantum dots as drug delivery systems. So as per your syllabus, in the later classes, we'll be learning about liposomes, neosomes, nanoparticles, monoclonal antibodies, along with their applications. And this basic idea about liposomes, neosomes, nanoparticles, and monoclonal antibodies will be sufficient even for your ZPAT preparation. Now, rationale for targeting a drug. So, what is the need for targeting a drug? So, there are few instances or few cases where we need to target a drug. So, the first one is low absorption, particularly drugs of high molecular weight. Drugs with high molecular weight, they are not absorbed easily from the gastrointestinal tract. Further, materials like or therapeutic agents like peptides and proteins, they may undergo degradation in the gastrointestinal tract. So, to avoid such degradation and also to improve the absorption of such high molecular weight peptides, we administer them intravenously. even though administered intravenously, they will be circulating throughout the body. They will be circulating throughout the body. However, to make them reach only the target site, we will formulate them in the form of a targeted drug delivery systems, where they will go and bind only to the site of action. This is with regard to low absorption. Second one is short half-life. Short half-life. Drugs which are showing short half-life, that is less than or equal to 4 hours. In such cases, we need to administer the drug frequently. We need to administer the drug frequently, or else, and this frequent administration leads to fluctuations in the concentrations of drug in the body. However, to maintain uniform levels of drug in the body, we will be going for either controlled drug delivery or sustained drug delivery. So, even though the modified drug release systems like controlled and sustained release play a part in preventing the peak and valley effects in the plasma concentrations of drug, it may not lead to targeted action. For that reason, the therapeutic peptides as well as drugs which are having very short half-life, are administered in the form of targeted drug delivery systems, such that they will go and act at the desired site. Next one, and the important one, and it's a conceptual one: volume of distribution. So drugs which are having a large volume of distribution, for them to reach the site of action will be less when compared to drugs with small volume of distribution. Okay. Why? Because when the drug is having large volume of distribution, it says that it is distributed into extravascular tissues. So when it is distributed throughout the body, the percentage that is reaching the desired site will be very less. But if the similar drug, it is having less volume of distribution, it is present only in the blood, then the chances for it to reach the site of action will be more. Okay, usually acidic drugs will have high plasma protein binding and they exhibit smaller volume of distributions, and basic drugs, they generally go and bind to the extravascular tissues and exhibit a larger volume of distributions. So this volume of distribution varies with physiological condition. If a person is suffering with liver failures, if a person is suffering from liver failure, then it allows the drug to undergo or to show high volume of distributions. Similarly, systemic alkalosis and systemic acidosis also leads to alteration of the body pH, which changes the absorption or volume of distribution pattern of drugs. Here two examples are given. Digoxin, which binds to hydrophobic tissues, shows a high volume of distribution of 640 liters, and nitidanib, which is also drug having high volume of distribution, it has no capacity to reach brain. Okay. Likewise, volume of distribution also influences the absorption. So irrespective of this, whenever you need to target a drug to a desired site, so you need to formulate that in the form of a targeted system such that there is a carrier available which drives the cargo or the overall drug carrier towards the site of interest. Next one is low specificity. So if we are taking a pure drug, for example, what can I show you? Okay, the same. How you'll remove that from cloths? Suppose there is an oily grease that is spilled over your clothes. You try to wash it with water. Will it go? No, it will not go. Why? Because it is not having specificity. But the grease is not having specificity with water. But in the same case, if you have applied some surfactant, what happens? This surfactant will go and bind to the greasy material and draws it easily. So here surfactant is improving the specificity of grease towards water, thereby removing the dirt. In the similar way, some pure drugs may not have specificity towards receptors. Thereby, they cannot be internalized into the cells. Their uptake by the cells will be minimized. In such cases, either by direct conjugating of the targeting moiety or by encapsulating the drug within a carrier and then targeting it towards a tissue or organ, improves the site specificity of the drug. Okay, so the concept is to improve the accumulation of drug at the desired site. Instead of pure drug, the drug is loaded within a carrier and it is targeted by using a suitable ligand or targeting moiety. And blood-brain barrier will have transferrin receptors. That's why when a nanoparticle coated with transferrin is injected into the body, its chances to reach brain will be high. This is with regard to the rationale for drug targeting. Drugs which are having low absorption, drugs which are having low therapeutic index. Okay, next one is drugs which are having low therapeutic index. Therapeutic index is the ratio of therapeutic dose to toxic dose. So drugs which are having low therapeutic index generally requires larger dose, and this may eventually result in toxicity. So to avoid such systemic toxicity, these low therapeutic index drugs are delivered in the form of targeted drug delivery systems such that they act only at the desired site. Examples: drugs which are used to treat cancer. So now we'll be talking about levels and approaches of drug targeting. So whenever we are saying a targeted drug delivery, the drug should be targeted to the desired site. How this targeting can be achieved? So this drug targeting can be achieved by passive targeting, active targeting, inverse targeting, physical targeting, dual targeting, and double targeting. So each one has its own specific mechanism by which the drug will reach the target site. First one is passive targeting. As you all know, passive process is a process which requires no energy, or in other way, there is no carrier that is involved. So then how does this happen? This happens based upon the inherent biology and pharmacology of the body. So whenever our body, that means drug is injected into our body, it moves freely, and if it is available in free form, it distributes rapidly throughout the entire body. However, if the same drug is loaded into a carrier and if it is injected intravenously, then what happens? Then now the drug in the carrier will be in your circulatory system and it will be circulating in your body. But in some areas, due to the inherent physiology, these carriers will be retained. The most common example for this is cancers. In the case of cancers, you can see that the blood vessels will be fenestrated. Fenestrated is nothing but the capillary wall will have small pores. The pore size in between the cells of the capillaries will increase. This is what is called as fenestrations. Due to these fenestrations, the drug loaded in the carrier will be entering into the tumor cells. After this, it will be not be able to come out. This is what is called as enhanced permeation retention effect. Due to the fenestrations in the blood vessels, the drug loaded in the carrier will be entering into the tumor tissues. However, as the tumor tissue is complexly networked capillaries, it will be not able to come out. Thereby, the drug particles will get entrapped within the tumor tissue. This is one mechanism by which passive targeting is achieved. So the mechanism by which the drug concentrates in the tissues in the case of passive diffusion is EPR effect, enhanced permeation retention effect. This is one of the important ZPAT bit that you have to remember, EPR effect. The next one, most of the materials that you are using for preparation of these nanocarriers are hydrophobic in nature. And these hydrophobic materials, when they are injected into our body, that is injected into our circulatory system, they are immediately recognized by our immune system, particularly RES, reticuloendothelial system. This acts as the first line of defense. So what happens? This reticuloendothelial system in the form of macrophages will come and engulf the injected nanoparticles. So thereby they may not be able to show any action. But this type of engulfment by RES system can be used to treat some diseases which are related to this reticuloendothelial system, particularly diseases of liver, spleen, as well as kidney. And these includes diseases like leishmaniasis, candidiasis, and brucellosis. In these cases, the hydrophobic nature of the drug particles will be used for targeting the reticuloendothelial system. So you please note that here we are not modifying the surface of the carrier with any targeting moiety or a ligand, or else there is no involvement of any receptor for the uptake of nanoparticles. By the mere inherent hydrophobic properties of the nanoparticulate systems or nanocarrier systems, they are uptaken by the reticuloendothelial system where they will be showing their action. Okay, this is about passive targeting. Next one is active targeting. So as we are saying active, so this involves some active process. Active process involves both consumption of energy as well as involvement of a carrier or receptor. So that means for actively driving the carrier towards a tissue on which the particular receptor is present, we will be surface modifying or functionalizing the surface of the carrier with a ligand, which is also called a targeting moiety. This targeting moiety will go and help the drug loaded carrier to localize into the tissue of interest. This is more stringent. Why? Because the receptors are present only on the tissue or organ of our interest. Thereby, we can achieve more efficient targeting. Here we have also mentioned an example, folate receptors. In the case of cancers, the folate receptors will be overexpressing on the cell surface. This overexpressed folate receptor can be used as a targeting receptor by the ligand, thereby enabling more drug to concentrate there. Now we'll see how many types of active targeting are there. This active targeting can be classified into 4 types. As you can see in the diagram, it is of first order, second order, third order, fourth order, and in the case of first order, you can see that this is concentrated to a particular organ. Here I am saying liver. Liver is an organ. So whenever the targeting of the drug is towards a particular organ, it is called as first order targeting. Next, you can see hepatocyte. So I have particularly mentioned hepatocyte. So whenever our interest is towards cells, then it is called as hepatocyte. Then the type of targeting is called as second order targeting. So here let me make it clear for you. So whenever the targeting is cellular level, then it is called as secondary targeting or second order targeting. For example, let us take another example here. If you are targeting pancreas, the overall pancreas, then it is called as first order targeting. But in pancreas, if you are going to target beta cells, then it is called as cellular targeting. For example, in the case of liver only, if you are going to target Kupffer cells, then it is called as second order targeting. Where it is called as subcellular or organelle targeting. So here it is clear that we are targeting a sub-organelle like mitochondria. So due to this, it is called as third order targeting. And the next level, where you are going to target a DNA or a subunit of an organelle, then it is called as fourth order targeting. For example, in the inner membrane of mitochondria, you can see F1 particles where respiratory chain takes place. So targeting such F1 particles, which is suborganelle level, is called as fourth order targeting. So when you are targeting a particular organ or a tissue, then it is called as first order targeting. And when you are targeting a particular group of cells within a organ, then it is called as second order targeting. When you are targeting organelles, cell organelles, then it is called as third order targeting. When you are going for molecular level targeting, then it is called as fourth order targeting. Now, see the diagram where we are able to clearly differentiate between active targeting and passive targeting. So in the first diagram, you can see that in this region, the capillary walls are intact, but in this region, you can see that there are some holes which are called as fenestrations. Due to the presence of these fenestrations, the nano carriers loaded with the drug, whatever nano carriers that are present here, which are loaded with the drug, will be penetrating into the tumor tissue. But you can see here the tumor is a complex network. Even though they enter inside, they will be not able to come out easily. So they will be permeating at an enhanced rate. However, they are getting retained there. This is called as enhanced permeation retention effect. Next, in the case of active targeting, you can see that the drug carrier loaded with the drug is having some external functionalization of targeting moieties. Due to the presence of this targeting moieties, they will go and attach to a particular receptor which is present on the tissue of interest and further undergoes localization. Okay, this is with respect to active targeting. Next one is inverse targeting. So inverse targeting is nothing but to bypass the uptake of reticuloendothelial system. Here also you can expect one ZPAT bit. So the mechanism by which reticuloendothelial uptake will be prevented. Active targeting, passive targeting, inverse targeting, dual targeting. Like that you may get an options. So you should be able to select inverse targeting. So in this, what you'll do is that, let me make you a simple example, like how the behavior of child will be. So normally, whenever exam results will come, if the child gets good marks, that is okay. But if he gets low marks and if he is going to get beaten or scolded by his parents, what generally he will do? He will go crying. Okay, then what parents will think? Okay, he is already feeling for his low mark, let us not scold him much. So the level of scolding or beating will get reduced. In the similar way, whenever you are injecting the nanoparticles, due to their hydrophobic nature, all the nanoparticles are uptaken by the reticuloendothelial system and they are not available for the blood circulation to go and act on the tissue of interest. So how can you avoid this reticuloendothelial uptake? So what we can do is that before injecting our actual nanoparticles, we will give a dose of materials like dextran sulfate. This is a blank colloidal carrier, dextran sulfate. This dextran sulfate nanocarriers will be immediately uptaken by the reticuloendothelial system. And after this dose of dextran sulfate, immediately we will give the dose of actual nanoparticles. Now, the first case. So, first you have given blank nanoparticles. Whatever reticuloendothelial system that is present will come and attack on this, engulf them. After this, you will now give nanoparticles of interest. So now you are giving nanoparticles. Now, as this reticular endothelial system is already bound with the dextran sulfate or blank colloidal nanocarriers, it will now not able to act on the actual nanoparticles. By this, we can avoid or reduce the uptake of drug-loaded nanoparticles by the reticular endothelial system. In other way, what we can do is that due to the hydrophobic nature, they are getting recognized by the reticular endothelial system. Now, we can alter the hydrophobic nature by coating with polymers like polyoxomers or polyethylene glycols, by which they will lose their hydrophobic nature and exhibit hydrophilic nature, thereby will not be uptaken by the reticular endothelial system. Okay, this is what is called as inverse targeting. So inverse targeting is achieved by either loading a dummy dose or a blank colloidal nanocarriers of dextran sulfate, or by coating with hydrophobic polymers like polyoxomers or polyethylene glycols. Next one is dual targeting. This dual targeting is a peculiar case where both the drug as well as the carrier both have pharmacological action. For example, this is a carrier which is loaded with a drug. Now, whenever you are injecting this, this will cross the biological barriers and reach the tissue of interest. Here, both the drug as well as drug carrier, both will show pharmacological action, thereby showing enhanced therapeutic benefits. Okay, are you able to understand? In the case of dual targeting, both drug as well as drug-loaded carrier have pharmacological action, thereby shows an enhanced therapeutic activity. Next one is double targeting. So remember here, in the case of targeted drug delivery, you have to understand about two concepts. One is spatial control and temporal control. Spatial control talks about targeting or localizing the drug at a particular tissue or site, and temporal targeting talks about its controlled and sustained delivery. When a drug delivery system is prepared in such a way that it has both spatial as well as temporal controls, then such type of system is called as double targeted system. So in the case of double targeting, we'll be controlling both the rate of drug delivery as well as place of drug delivery. Okay, for example, a matrix solid lipid nanoparticles surface modified with tamoxifen. Not tamoxifen, surface modified with transferrin. So what happens? Due to this, this will go and bind to the blood-brain barrier. So likewise, when we are controlling both the drug release as well as place of drug release, then it is called as double targeting. The last one and important one, physical targeting. So in the case of physical targeting, some physical factors like pH or temperature will be considered. So until the desired pH or temperature is not detected by the drug delivery system, it will be only circulating in the blood without showing any drug release. So as we have already said that tumor tissue have some peculiar characters. The pH of tumors will be slightly acidic. If our body temperature is around 7.4, pH of tumors will be around 5.5. So now, due to the presence of this acidic environment, these drug-loaded carriers will release drug only at that acidic pH, or else the temperature of the tumor microenvironment will be slightly higher when compared to the local body temperature. So at these higher body temperatures also, the drug delivery system will be able to detect, thereby releasing the drug only at specific physiological conditions. And in other ways, we can also achieve drug targeting by external application of magnetic fields, ultrasound, or by incorporating redox systems. This is with regard to various approaches of drug targeting. Okay. Now, for 5 minutes, we'll be talking about some questions that can be asked. So, first question. All of you unmute. Try to answer for the first question. Targeted drug delivery is also known as controlled, extended, smart, sustained. What might be the answer? Must speak out. Not in the chat box. Unmute yourself and answer. Amma, unmute yourself and answer.
Smart drug delivery, sir.
Smart drug delivery. Very good. Why? Because the other three are for the normal controlling, the temporal control of your drug release. But targeted drug delivery is a smart drug delivery. Why? Because it is able to detect the tissue or cell of interest and release drug at a particular site. Next. First order targeting is also called as
Organ compartmentalization, sir.
Organ compartmentalization. Why? Because we have discussed that whenever the targeting is towards a particular organ, then it is called as first order targeting. Compartmentalization is nothing but localization. Okay, so the answer is organ compartmentalization. Now, second order targeting is also called as
Cellular targeting, sir.
Cellular targeting, sir.
Okay. What is it if it is the case of intracellular targeting?
Fourth order, sir.
Intracellular.
Third order, sir. Third order, sir.
Order. Intracellular within the cells will be having cell organelles, no? It will be third order. Okay. Now, I think if you remember this, try to answer. Mechanism of mucoadhesive drug delivery system. Which theory talks about mucoadhesive drug delivery? Colligative theory, diffusion theory, adhesion and cohesion theory, hydration theory. Which theory talks on
Adhesion and cohesion theory, sir.
mechanism of mucoadhesion? See, have we studied adhesion and cohesion theory, or we have studied only adhesion theory?
Diffusion theory, sir.
Diffusion theory. Confuse avakandi. Okay, I have asked only for allowing you to know that the answers might be confusing. So if the options contain adhesion theory, then you might have considered that. But of the 7 theories we have studied under mucoadhesive drug delivery systems, there is no theory containing adhesion and cohesion. So the answer is diffusion theory. So the last question, mechanism of bioadhesion. So how bioadhesion can form between the polymer and the mucoadhesive surface?
All the above.
See, what is the answer? The answer is all the above. Why? Because interpenetration and entanglement of polymer, that is what we'll be talking in the case of diffusion theory. Okay, and the wetting theory talks about wetting and swelling of the polymer. And in the case of adhesion theory, we'll be talking about formation of bonds. So all the three, so all the example mentioned here are mechanisms of bioadhesion. Okay. So by this, we have completed the first topic of targeted drug delivery, where we have covered the introduction and concepts regarding targeted drug delivery. So in this, the questions might be coming from majorly from the approaches of active targeting, approaches of drug targeting, the 5 different types: passive, active, dual, double, and physical targeting. These are the instances where you are able to get some questions. Okay, in the next class, we'll be talking about liposomes and neosomes. And from this, we'll be talking about 5 types of carriers: liposomes, neosomes, polymeric nanoparticles, monoclonal antibodies, and solid lipid nanoparticles. From this, you can expect 1 question in your ZPAT. From the 5 topics, you can expect 1 ZPAT question. Okay, listen carefully. And whenever I am saying important, please make a note of that, so that question can be asked even in your internal as multiple choice question. Okay, that's end of today's class, and Wednesday's class we'll continue with your next topic.